It was supposed to be a routine visit to the bank, a simple withdrawal from my account. But what I didn't expect was to walk in and be met with cold, impersonal resistance. The teller, a young woman with a forced smile, informed me that my transaction couldn't be processed. Despite being a longtime customer, she handed me off to the branch manager, Terry Johnson, who seemed all too eager to dismiss my request. After a brief conversation with the staff, they claimed my account was flagged for some unknown reason, and I was told to wait. Frustration simmered inside me, but I remained calm, refusing to let their treatment slide. What I didn't know was that in those few minutes of uncertainty, my fate at the bank was about to change forever. As I stood there quietly dialing the corporate hotline, little did Terry know that this was no ordinary transaction, and I was no ordinary customer. Within moments, the CEO of the bank herself was on the line, and I was on the verge of taking control. The tables were about to turn, and this would be a lesson they would never forget. The air inside the bank was stale, as always. The large glass windows let in the midday sunlight, but it did little to warm the cold atmosphere that lingered in the room. People shuffled about, murmuring to one another in line. I was here for a simple transaction. Nothing more, nothing less. I approached the teller, a young woman with a polite smile. Her uniform was immaculate, the typical blue and white of the bank's branding, but the chill in her demeanor matched the coolness of the environment. As I handed her my ID and my account number, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said after a long pause. "I'm afraid I can't process this transaction for you." I blinked, taken aback. "What do you mean you can't process it? I've been a customer here for years. This is a simple withdrawal from my personal account." She looked at me, her smile still in place, but there was something else there: hesitation. "I'm afraid we have a policy, ma'am. I'm not authorized to process transactions for accounts in your situation." I raised an eyebrow. "What situation?" She glanced at her supervisor standing nearby. He was a middle-aged man, neatly dressed, but I could tell by the way he avoided eye contact that something was wrong. "Let me speak to him," I said calmly, though my pulse quickened. The teller hesitated for a moment, then nodded and walked over to him. The two of them exchanged words, and I overheard snippets of their conversation. Words like different account, special policy, and too risky were tossed about. When she returned, her smile was gone, replaced by something more mechanical, a robotic politeness that made my skin crawl. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said, "but you'll need to speak to a branch manager about this issue. Please take a seat." I didn't need to be told twice. The moment I sat down, I could feel the eyes of everyone in the bank on me. It was as if I had just been branded with something different, something that made me feel small. I watched as the teller walked over to the manager's office, and I could see her point in my direction. The manager, a tall man with a sharp jawline, nodded and stood up. He was well dressed in a dark suit, the kind of man who thought his position gave him power. When he walked out of his office, he was all smiles. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Terry Johnson, the branch manager. How can I help you today?" His voice was smooth, but I could hear the edge to it. He had a rehearsed kindness, the kind someone gives when they know they're about to deliver bad news. "I'm here to make a withdrawal from my account," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I see," he said, his smile faltering just slightly. "There's just one little problem. It seems your account is flagged, and unfortunately, I can't process that request. You'll need to contact customer support to resolve this." I raised an eyebrow. "Flagged? Why wasn't I informed about this?" "I've been banking with you for over a decade, Mr. Johnson. I don't appreciate being treated like this." He shrugged slightly, his hands clasped behind his back. "It's just standard procedure. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do about it at the moment. You can call the support line, and they'll help you. Maybe even tomorrow." I stood up, refusing to back down. "I'm sorry, but that's not going to work for me. You've wasted enough of my time." I took out my phone and dialed a number I had memorized long ago, the number to the corporate headquarters of the bank. It rang a few times before someone picked up. "Good afternoon. This is Sarah from corporate. How can I assist you today?" "I'm at the downtown branch," I said, my voice now firm, "and I'm being treated unfairly. I've been told that my account is flagged and I'm unable to make a basic withdrawal. I need this resolved right now. Ma'am, I'll connect you to the higher-ups immediately. As I was put on hold, I glanced back at Terry. He was still standing there, his smug smile still in place. But now I saw the anxiety in his eyes. He knew something was coming, but he wasn't prepared for what was about to happen. Just then, a voice crackled through the phone, pulling me back to the moment. Ms. Wright, is that you? I froze. It was Christine, the CEO of the entire bank. She and I had spoken multiple times over the years, and our relationship had always been cordial. But the fact that she was calling me directly meant one thing. She was aware of what had just happened. Yes, Christine, it's me. I'm standing here in your branch, and they're refusing to let me make a withdrawal. They're treating me like an outsider, like I don't belong here. I understand, and I apologize for the inconvenience, Christine said, her tone now calm and professional. But I need to ask you to stay right where you are. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Please hold tight. I looked at Terry again, his face going from red to white in the blink of an eye. He knew Christine was the CEO. He knew that a call from her was bad news. I suggest you sit down, Mr. Johnson, I said, my voice cold. This is about to get interesting. True to her word, Christine arrived 15 minutes later. She walked through the door with an air of authority, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. She was a tall woman, dressed in a sleek black suit that screamed power. She made her way straight to Terry, who immediately straightened up, his earlier composure now shattered. Christine, Terry said, his voice strained. This is a misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding, Terry, Christine interrupted. You just made the mistake of denying service to one of my longtime clients, and someone who's been a supporter of this bank for years. I stepped forward. That's not all, Christine. They tried to humiliate me in front of everyone, and now they think they can get away with it. Christine turned her gaze to me and smiled warmly. Not anymore. Terry, I think you need to take a seat. Before Terry could protest, Christine gestured for me to follow her into her office. She shut the door behind us, and the tension immediately melted away. I'm so sorry this happened, she said, her tone soothing. I'll have the entire branch reviewed, and you'll be compensated for the time wasted. But that's not all. Christine walked over to her desk and picked up a set of papers. I've been thinking for some time now about restructuring, and after today, I think it's time. She handed me the papers, and I looked at the title. My heart raced. It was an offer to buy out the entire branch, to take control. You've earned this. I'm offering you a seat at the board, effective immediately. You'll be the one making decisions from now on. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd gone from being humiliated to being handed control of everything I'd just been denied. The weight of the moment hit me all at once. Christine, you've got yourself a deal, I said, a grin spreading across my face. 10 minutes after being denied service at the bank, I didn't just walk out with my withdrawal. I walked out with the entire branch under my control. And Terry? Well, he walked out with his career in ruins. As I walked out of the bank that day, it was hard to shake the feeling that something monumental had just occurred. What began as a simple request for a withdrawal had transformed into a battle for respect, for dignity, and for control. I had been denied something as basic as a transaction, something I was fully entitled to, simply because of who I was. But what I didn't expect was that the very people who tried to put me down would ultimately elevate me to a position of power, a position where I could make sure nothing like this would ever happen again. The power shift was swift, and as I stood there, holding the papers that granted me control over the branch, I couldn't help but smile. It wasn't about the money or the authority. It was about what I had been forced to prove. In that moment, I wasn't just a customer anymore. I was someone who had taken back what was rightfully mine. Terry and his staff, who had once looked down on me, were now mere pawns in my game. The bank's system of denial had been turned on its head, and I had become the very thing they feared. Someone who knew her worth and wouldn't back down in the face of injustice. I wasn't just walking out with a deal or a position. I was walking out with a sense of victory, knowing that no one could ever treat me the way they did again. In the end, their refusal was the catalyst that led me to something far greater than a simple bank transaction. It led me to a new chapter, one where I would call the shots. And that in itself was the most satisfying revenge.